Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are creating a fully self-sufficient city and trying to learn some new things about the game. So today, we are going to connect this city to the outside world, but only for incoming passengers. And we want to see what our population grows from and how quickly it happens. But I feel like we have one more thing we can test. We know that we have a couple of tourists that have been stuck in our city forever. So this has been their own personal Hotel California, and we are going to figure out how many tourists we can trap in this area. That means there's a way in and no way out. So let's get started. So first of all, I want to build a small tourism island. We should take a look at this. 33,439. Let's see how much we grow from here. So to begin, I'm going to build a little tourism island over here. I'm going to level some things off, and we're going to do that the easiest way possible. We'll create an airport district. And I'm actually going to create a small airport, so we are going to add this over here as well. Okay, so we've got this over here now. I kind of wish I wouldn't have done this because I forgot that it removes the trees. Oh well, we'll have to live with a bit of imperfection. Okay, so we've got this all cleaned up. I'm going to build a small tourism district. All right, so now I want to do something a little bit different here. Let's keep this completely separate from the rest of the world. So we are going to build city services back here. We'll look at our terrain height, turn on our contours, and send this road straight back here. We'll kind of hide this. Didn't really even, we didn't respect our topography, but that's okay. It's not the point of this. You guys know who I am, and I can't help myself. So there we go. I'm going to add a couple of recycling centers back here, just so that we have trash collection. And we're going to add some city services down here. And the reason I'm separating this is we are going to make this totally isolated in and of itself. So if you come here and you accidentally die, or you get yourself into trouble, you're good. So we're going to add those there, and let's add some districts in. So I'm going to have a little nightlife district along the coast, and then we'll have leisure all the way back, and we'll add some unique buildings back here to really polish this all off and make it a really interesting tourism destination. So you're going to be able to come here, and it's going to seem like an excellent place until you realize you can never leave. Okay, so now that we have this, let's add our district over here, and we're going to need power and water over here as well. I think we should just find a way to make our power jump. That is obviously not the most attractive solution, but it's going to work well. And then I want to pop into here, and we're going to set up our own little ferry system. And that's how we're going to get people to this spot. So we're going to have our terminal over here. It doesn't really matter where it is. And then we'll have an end of the line on either side of this city. So one over here and one over here. There we go. Let's get these connected. And it doesn't like our bridge. We'll fix that. All right, now we just need to make roadway connections to these last couple of items, and we should be good to go. And water. We gotta make sure we have water. Okay, so now we've got that. We'll set up our lines, add a line that goes from there to here and then back. And we really shouldn't have much in the way of traffic here for the time being. I'm guessing this won't grow at all for quite some time, which is totally predictable. So I'm going to add a little bit of power up here as well, just so I can serve these plants, and then make sure we get water back here so we don't inadvertently kill everyone on this island. All the people that aren't here anyway. So there we go. Very, very good. And I think we're even going to run one of these up the side. No, we'll leave this here. It'll connect eventually. Maybe we can even force some of these connections with some of our unique buildings. So I know that with these buildings came with the After Dark DLC, which is where tourism came in. So why don't we just add some of these in here right off the bat? We've got to watch. This is going to be really expensive. So we don't want to go crazy. But we're going to go crazy, you know. There's only one way to go. Okay. So we've got a couple of nice items here, and eventually these will all link up. But I don't think anything is going to happen until we have an outside connection with the outside world. So let's start on an airport, and then we'll make a rail connection as well. But I think the airport's the right way to start. So we're going to come through here. We'll slow this down so we don't bleed all of our money out too quickly. And we are going to make a very, very nice airport. So we'll add our terminal right here. And in fact, now we've unlocked everything. Why don't we even add our connection over here? So you want to get here. Here is your best route. Or maybe it's your only route. The only way you can leave the airport is by taking this harbor. Or this ferry, rather. And then at the airport, I'm going to add a way to get to the airport and absolutely no ways to leave. So we're going to build a runway. We'll make it a good sized runway. And then we'll add our taxi stands. And then our taxiway. And there you go. You cannot leave, but you can come. I feel like we need to add a whole bunch of decorations to store planes, because where else are they going to go? So here we'll just add a bunch of these along here. Nice. I like that. That is exactly what we would hope for an airport. Just a place where you could come and never leave. All right. So we will connect up our water. We need some power in this area. So we will add that as well. And then we need to connect up our ferry line. And it's interesting, if I would have kept a connection, that would have been neat, because we could have had some of the hotels across the way. I don't know if it would have helped us though. Those don't really attract tourists. And then we'll create a line back and forth between here. Before we start having some tourists come in, I just want to take an inventory of where we're at right now. So let's look at our city statistics. Population's plummeting. So that's going to probably be helped by our connection. We've got 12 tourists, the same tourists that we've had for about 21 years at this point. They're probably very tired of being the only tourists in the city, and we can help them. We can help them. So let's speed this up, and I want to see if our airport starts working. It's a very attractive airport. So we've got that going for us. No one's coming in, which makes me wonder, do we have to have some sort of connection to something to get this thing to start operating? So what we're going to do is we will add in a taxiway over here. I think it might want it. So we'll add this. But being the incompetent airport planners that we are, we will connect this up backwards. So all you could do is leave from here. So hopefully that does the trick. And because that's going to drive me crazy, we're going to do something about that. There you go. You could circulate right there. So let's see. Garbage has piled up. Oh, and there's no power. Okay, so that's a problem. Welcome to our beautiful airport where you can see how green we are. We recycle everything. And now this should work. Our connection is there. And hopefully this starts zoning in. Okay, so this is not working. So I'm not sure if it's this or the fact that it's not connected up to the roadway network. We're going to try our best to maintain this as a roadway or an airport that has no way out. So we will connect this up to the rest of our city and see if that helps. So now we've connected this up to the rest of our roadway network. That is not what I wanted to do, but desperate times. And at least that allows us to get rid of this or move this. Much better. Much, much, much better. So while we're waiting to see if this airport starts working, I think that we know another way we can get people into town. and that is going to be a outside rail connection. So we are going to set up a passenger rail terminal. And I think we'll do that right over here as well. Kind of out of the way, in a place that maybe doesn't make a ton of sense. And the way that we're gonna make this inbound only, is we'll just add that little segment here. There's no way to leave now. And we are going to set this up, send this right out of town. And there we go. We've got our first outside connection in quite some time. And I'm very curious to see if this is going to start really backing up or not. Okay, so staring at that and wondering why it wasn't working, I think it's because of this. We don't have water here. So hopefully that resolves everything. Okay, so we're waiting for our passenger train to start working, but I just saw an airplane come into the airport. There we go. We've got some coming in. There we go. That is what we wanted to see. So immediately I start to see our population changing. So what this means to me is we've got some influx occurring, I believe. Interestingly, nothing is happening here. Oh, power. I'll just add one more of these. Get this thing moving. And hopefully that starts to get us some development along here. And the most beautiful beach ever has a power line going right across it. Just beautiful. Interestingly, we have no commercial demand. So even with all of this really interesting stuff happening here, nothing is springing up. We're getting a ton of industrial demand though. And look at our population just exploding. And is any of this coming from our train? No, that is frustrating. But we're seeing just a ton of passenger traffic here. So yeah, look at that. We are unlocking things at our airport. In fact, we could now integrate in our train line into the airport if that was what we wanted to do, if it were working. Interestingly, I just don't think that it is. And normally when this is working, you'll see some arrows here and some trains and people starting to queue up in this location. And I'm wondering if we need to add a mod to make that work. Because otherwise this is totally connected, except for this little segment right here that we are not excited to connect. I wonder if it needs it temporarily. So I'm gonna pop back over here. We'll delete this, add it back through. No arrows, no arrows. So I might need to go back to the drawing board on that one, but I'm really excited about what's happening here. Now our garbage is again backing up, so maybe I shouldn't have moved this. Now our population's just exploding at this point. We're adding hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. So we've added no residential zoning. Still nothing happening over here in a little tourism district, which I think is really disappointing. But I do wonder, are we seeing new tourists? Let's hop into here. No. Nobody wants to come here. Only people who want to move here, which I think is fascinating. So the other interesting thing is it says that 50% are outgoing. Who is leaving? That doesn't make any sense because there's no way to leave. If we take a look, you can only enter in 2 different spots. So something is bugged there for this to believe that there are unless there's just a queue of passengers at the airport. Is that what's happening here? Let's take a look. So I don't see any. So this would be the way that I would expect to see it. You pop through here, you can see through the building, but that's not what we're seeing. Well, let's take this up to the next level. So we're going to extend our concourse out. We know that we don't need this. This doesn't help us. So we are going to just add on some larger aircraft stands. We'll really take this up to the next level. There we go. So is anyone using this? We've got these ferries and I think they're not doing a darn thing. Interesting, but look at our population. Holy cow. We're just adding a ton. So they are coming over here. When we pop through here, what does our ferry line look like? 2 with no passengers. So are these not working? Is that the issue? Ooh, water. Power 2. All right. Well, now we know. So that'll get us a ton of boats coming through here. And we just saw our first passengers arrive here. We did not need a mod. We just needed patience. And oh, I'm liking this. I'm liking this. Look at all these passengers just streaming through. I'm going to click on the tourism and see if we have, oh, look at that. There are a ton of tourists, and they are going where? Where are they going? There's absolutely no place that I could think of that a tourist would want to go. Look at all of those passengers. Oh my goodness. So if we come through here and take a look. So what are our queues like? Not bad on the first line. On the second line, which is just, we'll change the color here. So that's the one to get to our tourism district. To go to our one hotel, we have a ton of demand. Let's just crank this up, just going back and forth, ping pong and back and forth. And I feel like now that we know what demand there is for this, we've got to do something better with our line, because I didn't really make this the most efficient route. Let's just get rid of that, and we will make this just a little bit prettier. There, much better. Much, much, much better. And I feel like the numbers are off for everything. So when we look at our air traffic, we've 22 per week. That's wrong. And then we look at our ferries, we're looking at almost no passengers, which we know is wrong because we've got a queue of them here even just waiting to get by. We're just going to crank this up a little bit, 200% there. Probably good enough. And at our other one, on our second line, we're starting to work this down. All we had to do was throw 5 vehicles at it, make them pong back and forth as quickly as possible. And we're finally starting to see some development over here as well. So I'm curious here, when we take a look, we are absolutely seeing a ton of traffic, but we're not seeing it when we click on this, which I think is par for the score, but very funny. So I was thinking about moving our train station over here, but you have to be at level 3 for that, which is kind of interesting. You can have a metro, which I would look at as being much more expensive, but we are totally fine, I guess, with metro and not with our train. So we've got a ton of people, and I see people coming in here, but you can't leave. So what are you doing? Where are you? Are you backing up in here? Can't see him here. Can't see him here. So I think there are people that are just coming through here. What if I just clip through the building? Nope. I don't know where they're going. So they believe that they're going somewhere. And I guess an easy way to do this, to figure out what's going on. So first of all, we've got tourists now. We went from 12 to 23. Perfect. And let's see our population changes through the roof. And I'm guessing that is all influx. Wow, yeah, a huge spike. 640 people moved here at once. Now we're down to 160. And we've grown our population by about 8,000. So I'm going to let this run for a minute. We're going to see what happens. Do we see this entire area built out? Are tourists able to leave? I don't know. What happens? What happens? And over here, we take a look at our city. It looks basically the same, but I'm going to guess that we're going to see a lot of these buildings start to completely fill up, because that was our problem before, is you click around at any building and it would be like one of 3 households. And you start to see as we click through 25 of 26. So nothing's really changing except that our buildings are finally full. Yes, yeah, everything's looking really good there. So our commercial demand's still lagging behind. We've got our leisure buildings that are just fine, but none of our tourism buildings are springing to life. Very interesting. I don't know why that would be the case. One thing we could... Oh. Now I feel dumb. There we go. So the one thing that we could do to try to bring some life to this area, didn't really want to do this, but I'm going to add some offices back here. And that'll at least force some activity into this area. And hopefully relieve some of this office demand that we have. All right, so I've let this run now for, I don't know, about 10 minutes. And I want to take a look and see what happened. So first of all, our population has grown by about 10,000, which isn't very impressive in my opinion. So what it tells me is that influx helps, but good city design and building things up over time also works. So the biggest change I think that we're going to see is that the ups and downs in the population have probably stabilized a bit. You see, we had one huge spike of influx and then things have settled down. We're not seeing nearly what we had before. So our population changes, we went up and now we're holding steady. So it solved our death wave and now we're just kind of holding on. Our birth rate, if we take a look at that, also shot through the roof one year and now it's dropping down. So our population has grown, but our birth rate has declined. And what that means to me is that we're not really relying on that anymore. The game was really heavily relying on births, although you see there's a trend over time where this has been dropping off. Our death rate has been kind of all over the place too, not a huge difference there. Our employment rate has stayed relatively steady. We had our drop there where we were starting our death wave that we ended by allowing people into our community. And then if we look at tourists, this is the interesting thing. So now we have 900 tourists trapped in our community. And I don't know that they're ever going to leave. And that's doing quite a bit for our income. And let's see our happiness. Pretty much the same. Cyclists, all right, well, things are mostly the same, which I think is really bizarre. All it's done is kind of stabilized a few things. But our city didn't see some massive population growth, which I kind of expected it would. And if we take a look at this, we're still seeing some really strange things here, such as a lot of outgoing passengers, even though there's no way to leave. And we've got a huge passenger count. Our ferry system is working well. We're starting to finally see some things happening here, although we're not getting goods here, which is one of the issues with completely severing this off. We would have to see this become an IT cluster, I think, to get this fixed. Actually, there's another solution. Let's just add a warehouse with general purpose goods. And I think because we have our IT cluster, these will just fill in. So let's swap this over. Commercial goods. It's not teleporting goods here just yet. So we could do this on our own.
Meteorologists have issued a severe tornado warning for the area.
Oh boy. And we have a disaster. That was not something I was expecting. Oh boy.
A tornado.
Well, I feel like this is a fitting thing to happen here. Let's just speed it up. Not super excited that there's a tornado right now. Well, that was pretty tame. I'd say we dodged a bullet there. And now we can just fix these. There we go. Good to go. And we had some power issues. I'm wondering if we have any broken lines. I don't think so. I think we're good. Now that we've upgraded these to IT cluster, we'll have some goods coming over here, hopefully at some point. Because that seems to be why our tourism industry is failing a bit. So let's let this go for just a moment, and I'm going to make sure we don't have disasters on too. And also, yeah, our power situation. Ooh, what is this? Something broke in the storm. Right here. Okay, so thankfully we didn't let that go too long. That would have been a problem. Okay, so I've let this run and done a couple of things to the city. First of all, I wanted the land values to be really, really high here. So I popped in all of these fishing piers right off the side, boosted up the land values a bit. And you saw this start to fill in as soon as I did that. I also noticed that our airport was primed to be a level 3 airport. So I've added a whole bunch of these control towers, and that gave us what we needed to unlock our airport headquarters building and our museum. And what I've noticed is that basically nothing has changed. In fact, our population is starting to decline, just as it did when we had no outside connections. So this has created another death wave, basically, because we had a whole bunch of people streaming here all at once. Now, the other interesting thing, this is probably the more interesting conclusion entirely. If we click at our airport, it still believes that half of our passengers are leaving. And I can't really make sense of that. So one of our really interesting things, we come through here and we see that the airport, it's not full, which is fine. But there are a number of passengers that apparently are leaving the city. We're starting to see that here as well. So when we pop in here, we take a look at our tourists. We've got tourists that are leaving. How is that working? There's no way out of this city. You can come in, but you cannot leave. It's Hotel California. But for whatever reason, it is a problem. So what this tells me is that there must be some sort of mechanic in here, similar to the roadway network, where if someone gets stuck, they just delete themselves. It's similar to how a car despawns, a tourist must despawn as well, because there's no way to leave the city. We've got this, and we've got the airport, and both of them only have ways in. So tourists can despawn. That is my conclusion. Tourists can despawn. And I think that's really fascinating. The other thing I'm noticing is that when we take a look at our ferries, these numbers are not always lining up with what we're seeing in here. So we pop through here, we're seeing that we have roughly, a little 350-ish ferry users. I've seen this number pop way through the roof. Right here, over 400. Maybe this isn't a total surprise to you if you've ever looked at the transit stats. Sometimes it just doesn't make any sense. This is another place, but I feel like the numbers just kind of generally feel bugged, and I can't really make sense of it. The passengers served at our train station has pretty much always been 0. We're seeing that in general, our airline numbers no longer make sense, and if we look at our city statistics, again, we're starting to see our tourists drop. We're starting to see our birth rate going to tick up again. Our influx, again, popping back up. Our death rate, huge spike to follow our influx here. So I expect this to pop through the roof because we know that all the Sims are at the same age. So that'll, again, be recouped with influx. So it's interesting. You start to see the game trying to compensate for the reality that we've placed it in, and it is struggling. So that's about it, though. I hope that you've enjoyed this one. If you have any other ideas that we could test in the city, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this, please hit the like button. If you want to subscribe, please consider doing so. And I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.